All right, everybody. Welcome back to another podcast episode. Today I have with me Walter. Walter is actually my cousin, and he's the owner of Allstate Roofing More. So, Walter, welcome.
Thank you. Sure, it's good to be your cousin for many, many years.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise. Wanted to talk to you for a while, but didn't get the opportunity to have you be here physically until now. So it's definitely good to have you in person, and I'm looking forward to digging out some wisdom nuggets out of your life. So why don't we start by a story of high school and college, like when we were both in high school. Like, where did you go from high school? Where did I go from high school? Why don't we start there?
I don't know. I guess we kind of went to the same high school and then kind of went to the same college somehow.
Yeah, so for the audience, since they don't know us that well, I remember this one story about going to college together, going to the same class.
Yeah.
Why don't you share about that story?
Well, is that the computer technology that we took, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a interesting teacher. I was working actually 2 jobs then. I was working.
Oh, grab the microphone closer.
Yeah.
So you can bring it closer to yourself if you want.
I was working 2 jobs. I was working in a restaurant. I was doing some construction work at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was taking 21 credit hours. So, I couldn't make it always on time to class.
Uh-huh.
But when I did make it to class, I did, I think, pretty well on all my tests, considering.
Yeah.
So I think you have a better memory of what happened there.
Well, what I remember is we had some kind of project, and for whatever reason, you didn't get it done, and I was trying to help you with it. So I was trying to do it for you or something like that. And somehow the teacher found out, and he didn't like it, and I think he kicked you out of the class.
Yeah, he kicked me out of the class for I think was because I was only late a couple minutes, couple times.
Uh-huh.
But I think he actually did a favor for me.
Right.
Yeah, looking it back, I'd have been stuck in there.
Yeah. So, and that's what I want to talk a little bit about, as far as our paths like took different trajectories. Like your path was more not the streets in the negative sense of whatever the street life is, but more in the positive side, where you learned how to do things in life, how to like make a successful business just by doing. Versus for me, I went to college, I did studied and all of that. So what was it like for you learning from the streets, I guess?
Well, it's not necessarily, it's hands-on, I would say, learning. So anything, I'd like to take it apart and put it back together, then I know how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
When they teach you, even now, they give you so many classes in school, they're useless. I mean, I probably needed about a quarter of the stuff they teached, and I save all that time and money. So I will break things down and put it together, and even if I make mistakes, second time, but I'll get it. But now I know nobody can take it away from me.
Right.
It's not a theory, it's a fact. In school, they teach you a theory. Theory is fine, but until you do it hands-on, it's just a theory. That's and everything in life, that's, you just jump in and you learn how to swim, or
right.
You'll figure it out quick when you have to. You don't have a choice. You can't step back.
Yeah. So maybe we can even step further back in time. Growing up, what was your life like growing up? Because for me, it seemed like, I don't know if it was because of how our family was, but it seemed like making mistakes was frowned upon. Like if you make a mistake, that was bad, very bad. So I think for me earlier on, I was trying to avoid making mistakes. So then by trying to avoid making mistakes, you're not really trying to do things that can potentially be wrong, or where you make an accident, or you mess up, basically. So like for you, how was your early life like that enabled you to be like, that's fine, I'm going to break this and then put it back together and it'll be okay?
Well, I mean, for me, it was when I look at something, I have a goal, and nothing's going to be in my way. I'm going to tear it apart, fix it. People can tell me otherwise, left, right. I look at a completed product, or I look at a finished product, or I build out in my mind a map how to get there. It doesn't always work. You always got to step back to go forward. Sometimes you got to tear it all down in your mind and rebuild it. But even in the younger age, I wanted certain things. I found a way to get it. So, and I was just determined. I not the best at anything until, I can break things down, like I said, and put them together, of course with mistakes, but I'm not afraid of making mistakes. It is what it is. It's life. When you start walking, you don't run. You're gonna fall a bunch of times before you walk.
Right.
It's the same thing in everything. In business and life, and that comes down to nobody's perfect. Anybody that says they're far from it.
Right.
That's.
But I wonder if our upbringing affected how we acted as young adults, like how much that affected or not.
As you know, when we came here, my parents always pushed me and took me places I didn't want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And they took me to work. They took me to interpret, and where they needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
I was, 9 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
But then now I look at it, it's actually good they did that, because I'm not really afraid of anyone or anything. I can just, the way I have my mind, you get in and grab the bull by the horns, and take care of the problem,
Right.
whatever it is. But I think that build more confidence at younger age, where I learned the hard work ethics.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you can, different scale, obviously, different things that our parents used to do. Now, some of the things I use for different businesses. So that's my take on that.
Yeah. So going back to after high school, you attempted to go to college. That didn't really work out. What did you end up doing at that point?
I wouldn't say the college didn't work out, because most of the classes, even that time, I took 3 semesters at the same place we went, and I would say I passed most of them, even though I was not always there, but just the tests got me through. But it's not something I thought I wanted to do, but it's not really what I wanted to do until I really got into it. Yeah, so I got into radiology, then computer technology, and then engineering, and it's like it's really not what I want to do. But once you're in it, but luckily I didn't go to school for every single thing to figure that out. Like now I have people working for me that have MBAs and bachelor degrees that they aren't using. They pay so much money and spend so much time. I wish there was a program where they can go for a semester hands-on. Is that really what you want to do in your life?
Yeah.
But I think that's going to cut into a lot of pockets.
Profits of the colleges.
Yes.
Yeah. So after high school, is that when you got connected with the pharmacist, or was that a little bit later on?
I got in after college. I continue trying to start a construction company, painting and stuff, and I started a towing company. I started a bunch of small companies, but then I started a detail company that we had a building, and then locating cars and stuff like that. And that's when I met one of the potential customers that wanted a certain car that I went and got it for him. And from that point, I got an opportunity arose for the property development in Central America. So
Yeah. So what was that like going to Belize and starting a business there, a couple businesses? What was that experience like for you?
So I got to tell you a little bit beforehand. So to me, I was open-minded. I never shut down an idea or anything. I'll listen to it. I still do, because you never know, right? You gotta be open to things. You can do it, or you can turn it away. It's not a problem. But you always gotta entertain and see other opportunities. So the opportunity was for me to this individual knew I had some background in construction and stuff by my other businesses. So he proposed that he went down to Belize and bought, I believe it was like 200 acres. It was big amount of property, and he wanted to see if I wanted to go and help him develop it. Well, at the time, I don't know even where the Belize was. And I go, okay, well, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
So I ended up, so we said, okay, let's do it. So we also started a water sports business, like in the marina. That was first, so we have transportation. Belize is actually a country, but has a bunch of islands. The islands are nice there, but at the time, I didn't know a clue where I'm going, and that's it. Who I'm meeting and what I'm going to do. Okay. So for me, it was like, I know what I gotta do. So there's a piece of property. We're gonna get it developed. How? We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So, and that's from there. You take the steps, and you go in and meet the right people who you need to be able to do the project, and you keep building your relationships and things like that. But Belize being a different country, you got to do business a little bit differently. If you don't pick up in Belize pretty quick how to do business there, you're gonna fail. 100% you're gonna fail, because they do business there differently. Okay. So I learned that. It took me about probably 5-6 months. But when I landed there, to me everybody was new. It was like in the movies. You land on the main airport, and you take a smaller plane to the island. You get out. The only contact I had there was for an architect, and that's it. So first experience I found. So they pointed me to this hotel, a cheap hotel I went to. I stayed. There's no air conditioning. It was 95, 98 degrees outside. No windows, just shutters. I was like in third world country, somewhere out there in the woods. So I lived there maybe for 2 weeks. So a bunch of bugs started really bothering me. So I said, hey, we gotta find another place.
Yeah.
But when I got there, I obviously got to open bank accounts and talk to architects and work on plans and learn what you need to do there to do what you got to do. So I met a couple bankers. They introduced me to some of the mayors, which was good for us. And they actually we did some consultations for them. some of the projects that they were working on, they needed help on. We structured some of the ways they can raise funds to build bridge and roads and stuff like that. It actually worked out. Then mayor got reelected. She got reelected like she was there for 10 years, over 10 years. We still stay in touch, good friends. But she introduced me to some of the ministers, and from being nobody and showing up there in the island, and 3 years later, knowing most of the people, and developed some businesses that became pretty successful, I would say, that most people fail within 6 months in that country. So that I learned a lot, but I wasn't afraid of taking on a new challenge, and that's
So you mentioned you had to talk to so many people. What was your strategy or thought of networking? Like, what were you thinking in terms of how to network, how to connect with people?
Well, for me, is I know what I wanted to do. Then I gotta find who are the people that can help me make this happen. Who are the people that are going to be that I need to have relationships with, that are going to be support me and point me out to the next person that I be in contact with. And so networking, to me, I think is the most important part of any business you do. You gotta network, because that's I'd say 80% of your business is your network. You can, otherwise you'd be struggling. You're gonna keep grinding, and it is like that in life. It's, yes, of course you gotta know things, but then it's also then who you know.
Right. And when it comes to networking, how do you approach it? Like, some people in the beginning, when they network, they're only thinking of what they need to get out of the other person, right?
Well, that's a short-term relationship, okay?
Yeah.
Because they obviously, that person, it's just think about yourself. Somebody comes to you, they always want something from you. Eventually, you're gonna say, well, if you have time, thank you. I thank you. I don't have any time. Maybe another time or something like that. But you gotta you gotta give, right? That kind of works both ways. So you gotta think of their interest as well,
Right.
and if they see that, listen, they're gonna be around you. They're gonna support you 100%, because they know that you're looking out for them.
Right.
So in networking, it's like a relationship. There's two sides to it. If it's one-sided, it's very short-term.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the point I wanted to kind of highlight for audience, for especially younger people out there, that you want to do something for the other party, not just think about what you want to get out of them for yourself. Otherwise, like you mentioned, it's going to be short term. It's not going to work out long term. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have, till this day, I have people calling me with different opportunities and running by, and I give them my advice, what I know, and I'm free to share with people that I'm always looking for people to get better. To me, when I see somebody succeed, even some of the people who worked for me and they became successful, even they don't work for me, to me, it shows that I have done something right that somebody else can take, and they can also be successful. So that's I actually enjoy that in a way. I know a lot of people might not, because hey, now there's competition or whatever. There's always going to be competition. There's always going to be that's going to be always there. But if you can network and then network's the key in anything. I believe.
Yeah. So when it came to Allstate Roofing and More, what was the beginning part like? Like, how did you start that company?
That company, I kind of started. I wasn't looking to start a roofing company, to be honest with you. That's probably one of the companies that I wasn't really looking into. But at the time when I came from Belize, I stayed here and I tried a couple other things. Back in 2007-8, the market was down. Any business you touched wasn't that great. even started the dealership company. They didn't go so well because people didn't have the money. Right? It was just challenging. But roofing is a need more than a want. So if you need a roof, you need a roof, right? And you can find somebody a way to finance it, then you're gonna get it done. It's not something you get excited about a new roof.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're excited it's not leaking your house anymore.
Right.
But at that time, I looked at entertain other businesses, and I had a guy who used to live in my house. I rented a couple rooms to him, and he used to work for a roofing company.
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps telling me, "Hey, why don't you start a roofing company?" I go, "I don't want to start a roofing company. That's not something. That's kind of going backwards."
Yeah.
But I thought about it, and I said, "Listen, if you want to manage the crews, and I'll work. Obviously, I want to learn the business, so I'm going to do everything this business that this business is doing. I want to know every single thing it does, so I can understand it and make it better." So we ended up building a small crew. We started subcontracting for Home Depot. First year, there wasn't a lot of money we made in it. First year and even second year, but I liked the model that Home Depot had.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a model that it was more of a customer service. So they would hire contractors. Obviously, they would vet them out. We were their number one contractor. We fixed other people's problems that they created for them. So any jobs that were more difficult, we could handle. And no other crews could do that. But I wanted to position the business in a way that the Home Depot was. I liked that structure, the model they had. So that's where I started working towards that. So first 3 years I worked actually with the guys, and I've been on many different roofs, and we took on many different projects that other contractors didn't want to touch or couldn't touch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where one of the strengths were. And some of the guys that were working for me, they were pretty skillful, so we were able to tackle these type of projects. But from there, we just start marketing ourselves and getting networking again, hiring different managers and sales, building a sales team. But at that time, for the first 3 years, I was getting up at 6 a.m, 7 o'clock we had to be on the sites. Every day we did the roof, every single day. If the guys were late, we were late half an hour, we couldn't finish a project. So the rule was 7, everybody had to be there. We worked till it's late, day out. Then I'll get home, I work and do the marketing paperwork and everything else. Go to bed around 12, wake up at 6 again. 3 years.
Nice.
But I believed in that business could be successful because it's a need. And it's still to this day, that's what we do. So one of the things we do, actually. But
so what would you say, like, 3 biggest mistakes you've made throughout all the businesses that you started, and what did you learn from them?
one of the biggest mistake, not the biggest, but patience. Okay, patience. You gotta be patient, but you also you gotta work on it, on the business. The way I look at it, any business, it's climbing a hill. It's gonna be hard. You're not gonna see returns right away. It's not gonna happen. Of course, you gotta do your numbers and have some kind of business plan. And if the numbers scale on a small scale, they're gonna scale on a big scale. But what I would do is I would put about, I'd say, if you gotta put 2 years in it, I'll put a year in it and quit, right? And then I learned over time that you have to stick with whatever you do, believe in whatever you do, provide the best service. It doesn't matter, product, service, you will succeed. Don't give up. Find a way to make it happen. There is a way to make it happen. You just have to find it and stick with it and be consistent, which is hard even for me to this day to be consistent on many things. But then I try to hire other people that are more consistent than me.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is any business you do can and would be successful if you stick long enough and find a way to do it. And network. Be open-minded. That's very important because somebody might have a better idea than you do. And you put it to use and it works sometimes.
What other mistakes did you make?
I would say, well, one of them is consistency is a big one. If you have a weakness like I do, I try to hire people to do that and stick with it long enough and network. Don't close any idea down because that somebody might have a better solution than you, and don't be closed-minded. It's.
Yeah. What about so in the roofing company that you started, when did you realize that you need marketing, sales, installers? Like, when did you realize there's all these components that make a really successful company instead of like some subs are, it's just them maybe with a helper and they don't think about sales, marketing. They just think about like, oh, okay, I just need this Home Depot or some other contractor to work for, and that's it.
Well, there's the different types of people. Okay, there's the different types of people that they want to scale to a different point, right? What I always said is you have two hands and you can only be at one place at one time. You can't be everywhere, and you only have two hands. So it depends what you want to see the business. Where do you want to see the business? It depends where you want to see yourself in 5-10 years. Do you want to, you want to build a business? You want people to work for you? You want to scale it? You want to do, 100 roofs? You want to do 1,000? You want to do 100,000 roofs? That's first you need to figure out, what you want. A lot of these guys, they're happy making a living, and they don't want to deal with marketing. They don't want to take the risk investing into marketing and sales and everything you need to invest. It's a risk.
Right.
It'll come back or might not come back. It's a gamble. But so, I looked at it differently. I did not want to do what I did the first couple of years. It's fine for me to do, to learn, to understand. I understand everybody in every position what they're going through, so I can, if there's a problem, I can address it and fix it pretty quick. But I know I wanted to scale, which we tried many different ways to scale. Each time you do that, there's mistakes you make which are very costly. Systems, people, marketing, a lot of money goes in time into trying to scale a business, which a lot of people think you are where you are just because you were working in it, you eventually got there. No, there's a lot to it that people don't see. That's happening in risks and sacrifices you make. But yeah.
So when did you when you started Allstate Roofing and More, you already knew the different departments or different parts of the company that you needed, or did you learn that first year, second year?
Well, first year, first for me was the guys that became some of my friends that worked for me. I wanted them they wanted to work, and they were working with other people. They weren't happy working for them. I wanted them that's why I didn't really care if I made money or not. I just started a company and then see what happens. But as the first year went by, I looked at some of the companies that we were subcontracting for, which was the Home Depot mostly. I want to, I figured out that the structure they have, obviously, they had a decent, good structure. They put a lot of time and money into that already. It's like, how do I give a better service? How do I provide a better system? Or how can I be as good as what they're offering, or better? I want to be better. So that's, first 6 months, I figured it out. But then you have to get to it. You don't have millions and billions of dollars to throw in marketing, and you made a bunch of mistakes, no big deal. You can't afford to do that at that time. You gotta be very cautious, and you still gotta take risks. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But everything first 3 years, whatever came, went right back out. I didn't save a penny.
What do you like most about owning your own company or running your own company?
I like that I have control in a way over my time. That I have freedom in a way. Sometimes you do, but sometimes you don't. So that there is mystery. What do you call it?
Misunderstanding or
misunderstanding or perception. There's a different perception of it. The way I see it, yes, sometimes I can work 14 hours, 15. Sometimes I go away for 2 days, 3 days, and I can do some of the stuff I need to do on my phone, or if it doesn't need to be done, doesn't need to be done. I can't do that anywhere you go to work for. You can't do that unless you have a certain structure, like we have for our sales guys. In that position, you're actually in a sales position, you're better positioned than the owner is. If they can manage their time in themselves, obviously, that comes down to be hard for some people.
Yeah. What would you say makes the best owner of a company, and what makes the best salesperson? What kind of, whether it's personality, skills, habits, whatever it is, for the owner and for a salesperson?
Well, I mean, owner, you gotta always think multiple steps ahead, right? You have people that rely on you. They rely on their, salaries. They got families. So you gotta think about not just about yourself and your family. You have to think about the people that work for you, and lay out things that they might not understand at the time. Multiple months ahead, and certain investments you got to make to make sure everything is going, and obviously bring new products, new ideas, and consistently learning new things as anybody, new technologies. But for a sales rep, I think is sales. I would say, I don't know. To me, sales, I think, would be like a number one thing. It's better than owning a business. If you're a good sales rep, that doesn't mean you go around and just sell people things they don't need. That's not what I'm talking about. Educating people. You educate them. You provide service as far as for the customers. You become the best that you can be in sales. Now, but you have to manage your time as well from the management part of it. You kind of work for yourself, but you're in a company following their guidelines as well. But sales guys get into this habit when they're having good months. They'll get a couple good checks, and then they think these checks will keep coming. They don't. You stop rolling that snowball. It stops. It's going to melt, and it's done, and you have to start rolling. The second time for them to get started is very painful, because you got to step back. Like, you started first day of work to build up that business, the pipeline, those sales, right? So to be consistency in sales and following the steps. A lot of sales reps, they think they're so good. They go in, they spent a couple hours with the customers in the beginning. They did really well, and then what happens? They have a couple good months, they scale back. They don't educate the customers like they used to. They don't spend enough time with the customer. Well, then your sales goes down. Then becomes, smart sales reps that are humble, they understand, and they will step back, start over. And the other ones with egos, unfortunately, they don't last very long. Then,
Yeah. What kind of personalities fit the sales role best?
Personality, I would say the best personality for sales would be somebody who loves to build relationships. It doesn't matter what they do. It could be in church. It could be anywhere they go. They're friendly. People want to talk to them. They when they walk in, you see these people's energy. You can see feel their energy. That you just want to be around that person, right? Everybody does. Then they bring a certain energy with them. That's the personality where and they're obviously with more humbled without having an ego. They are, it comes down to them. They get referrals and all these things, but they have to have a certain personality that more of like a friend making friends personality, I would say, is one of the key things. It's relationships. It doesn't matter. It comes down to you could be engineer. Like we had people that had MBAs and had bachelors in engineering. They couldn't sell one thing.
Yeah.
Then get a high school dropout. He goes around, builds relationships. He sells just to about everybody, and everybody loves him. So it's a personality.
Yeah. So when it comes to business today, what are some challenges that you're seeing out there in whether it's roofing or trades in general? What are some challenges that trade type of businesses are facing today?
Well, there's a lot. It depends what industry you're in, but most of them, right? You got expenses are through the roof, right? You got materials, you got insurances, you got all this stuff. That's one big challenge for everybody. Inflation, it's ridiculously, your costs are high. Lead acquisitions, very costly with all these lead generation companies that sell the same lead 100 times over and over and over, and then rehashing, and none of them will give you credit back. No, I would say none all. Then most of them won't give you credit back. So they're really taking advantage of the system, but obviously what they do is they do a lot of marketing so they can be up on the top, and then resell these leads multiple times. But right now is with everything that's happening, and I would say in politics, people are nervous about spending money. They don't know how to react yet. Before they were nervous last year one way because of the elections. Now the elections happened with a lot of changes. They're still kind of very cautious. So with not just our business, in all the businesses, I think. So it's going to be interesting this year to see what happens. Obviously, we're in the business that's a need. So if you have to have it, you need a roof. But a lot of people might hold off just to see what happens if there won't be a big market crash. That's what everybody's concerned about. But
yeah. When it comes to some kind of fun story that you have about business, anything that comes to your mind, like share a story.
Story about the business.
like something, whether it's between people in the business or with customers, something unique that has happened.
Well, here's the thing. I always learn from every customer. You know, I learn something new. Try to learn every day, but um, what I so the position I'm in most of the time is when I see the customer. Usually, either they're really happy or really not happy.
Hmm.
So I go in and try to hear them out, right? And my goal is to, I don't know if it's a fun story, but my goal is from the worst situation or worst experience to turn that into like 100 times better than a normal experience.
Hmm.
Obviously, by listening to the customer and having solutions and options for them, you know. And I would say 99% of the cases, I was able to turn a really upset customer for one reason or another that obviously my staff couldn't handle for some reason. I was able to get them to our good side and actually sell them additional product or sell services that they needed. And with the way I see the customer, the way look at the customers as myself, service I would want. So my guarantee with the customer, if something isn't done right and it can't be fixed, we're gonna tear the whole thing apart. Doesn't matter what it is. We're gonna do it again,
Hmm.
make it right. So, but I don't know. It's fun. It's just
No, but
awkward.
yeah, but you bring up a good point about being able to take a bad situation and turn it into a good thing. And not many people are capable of doing that. What do you think is the reason why a lot of people are not capable of doing that?
Well, first of all, you have to. Well, here's one thing: people they could be scared, or they could have a big ego, right? And so they're scared. Again, that's the theory I take. Is a problem I look at it as a bull, and you gotta grab it by the horns and figure it out. And that's the problem. You need to figure it out. So first, you have to hear out the customer. What is the problem? Problem can be very simple, right? It could be very simple, but if you don't hear or you don't hear the customer out what the problem is, you're not going to know what the solution is going to be for it. So you got to hear the customer out, you got to look at and examine the situation, and you got to put options in front of the customer and have him pick one.
Yeah. So I guess the other thing you mentioned was ego. So some people with egos, now I'm assuming that they assume what the problem is without hearing the customer out to see what the real problem is, right? And then they give the wrong solution because they don't really know what the root cause or the actual problem is.
Right. So if you, like I said, the person, there could be a situation where it has nothing to do with the service you offered or the product. They could be upset at a whole different thing, but because of lack of communication or one thing or another that led to them being so upset. But if you aren't going to hear them out, you're not going to know.
Right.
So, when I look at every problem, there's a solution for every problem. That's what I believe in. But it takes people need to listen, and they need to find a compromise on some things, but gotta be willing to work out the problem.
Right.
If it's in anything, I strongly believe every problem has a solution, 100%.
Yeah. What's a positive story that you have from, and it doesn't have to be the roofing business, but any business you've been a part of? What is something positive that you remember? Some positive event or something that happened that was really good?
To me, everything's positive. As long as you can breathe and you're not sick, you feel good. And
Okay, so above average positive, like something that was like really, really, really great.
to me, something really positive is when a lot of not a lot of the people that have worked for me that were able to get to the next level. I would say, right? They were able to get themselves a house, a car. It positive. The positive what I see in a lot of these things is that I was able to give somebody an opportunity to make their life better. That's like to me that's what has a big value personally to see them do that. And and I always say we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
um,
So having impact is something you treasure.
yes, and of course with our customers, I'm happy to be able to provide a service, and they can always call us 24/7, and if they have a problem, and we're going to be there and we're going to take care of it. That's important to me too. When we see they have a problem and nobody could take care of it, we go and take care of it. That's a big it's a big deal.
Yeah. What do you enjoy doing outside of work?
Traveling. I like meeting new people. I like learning new things. I like to building relationships. I like to go to places and I haven't been to, or I've been to. If I haven't been to, and I meet somebody, I have a pretty good network, pretty much. Say not just U.S. and other places, and I would say that I enjoy the most is traveling, and that's what I am doing. I'm still able to work when I'm traveling, so
Yeah.
and also, finding new opportunities.
Yeah. So you went to Dubai. What was that like over there?
Oh, Dubai! Actually, I went to the boxing match with Usyk. So first time I went with Serge and a couple other people. But it was a different experience than you guys see it. It's more. I mean, the city is like is from the future, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you're used to down here in Europe is a little different. But it's it has its has a lot of positives, but then it doesn't have the mountains. It hasn't had as much as green as we do here. It's different, but it has a lot of things they don't have here. So it was a good experience going through there. And then I went to Saudi Arabia. It's a little different there too.
Mm-hmm. What was that like?
Oh, so when we got there, we Serge wanted to go to this place called Edge of the World.
Mm-hmm.
Edge of the World is supposedly kind of like Utah. You got these canyons, Grand Canyons, but I was like, okay, sure, let's go. So we got an Uber. It was like a Toyota Camry or something.
Mm-hmm.
So we drove, I believe, half an hour on the main road, and then off the road we drove for about another hour, going probably 15 miles an hour. There was like no road; it was like dirt road.
Mm-hmm.
You see camels like way out there. Outside is like almost 100 degrees. And then we got to a point where we couldn't drive anymore because it was like an hour into this desert
Mm-hmm.
where there's no people, nothing. It was a little bit crazy. So I thought the impression I was getting, this is how Saudi Arabia is, right? So we got to a point where we couldn't drive anymore. The car wouldn't.
It was a
There was a
sand.
ditch. There was a ditch.
Okay.
There's a big ditch. So then what we tried to get around and just couldn't get around. So either go back or try, or somebody maybe give us a ride, but there's nobody there. And half hour later, there's like a Toyota pickup truck, crew cab comes by, and there's like four Indians guys were there, and they were going to the same place. So me and Serge ended up jumping into that.
Uh-huh.
And they took us. It was like another hour and a half
Wow.
down. We didn't know these guys. We know we were going. We were going to go over here. So even with that truck 4x4, I think it was 4x4 too. We were getting stuck. We had to get out and kind of push it in different areas.
Mhm.
That's how many potholes and hills and all that stuff that was there. It was crazy. It was very windy. So the Uber driver waited for us a couple hours. We came back. And then we started heading to we got to that edge of the world, but it was like a big mountain, all sandy. It was kind of like a Grand Canyon,
Mhm.
similar. And then we went, we got back into the Uber and headed to the hotel and going to some old towns. And I go, wow, this and camels and stuff like that. I go, wow, I thought my impression was this place is like I seen on TV until I got into Riham, I believe that was their main city capital there. Well, in that city, that city actually is very built up and very modern.
Similar to Dubai, or?
Similar to Dubai,
Mhm.
yeah. Obviously, I'd say I had a good experience there. We went to that boxing match, and it was very interesting, different, definitely different, but interesting.
Mhm.
It was. We met a couple guys there that Arabian guys on the way after the boxing match, and they actually gave us a lift to the hotel and stuff.
Mhm.
So it was good people, and I was in for the second match back in I think December. Yeah, I was able to. I think we went through the Dubai to Saudi Arabia, but to one of those guys. He invited us to one of his what you call dacha, yeah.
Like a summer home, or
Yeah,
cabin, or
cabin.
whatever it's
Yeah,
called.
it's not a cabin, but it's like
So-
oasis. It was like an hour away from the main city, so we went there, and they made some chicken, and they had like all kinds of vegetable, organic, grown
Mhm.
there. It was a pretty cool experience. Yeah, it was very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always nice when you have like the locals, and you spend time with the locals instead of just being a typical tourist.
Well, tourists, you see all the places, all touristy places look the same,
Yeah.
But yeah, there was more of a local culture. I got to see a little bit of that experience. It was nice of them to offer that to us. They picked us up and brought us back, and very, very nice.
Yeah. Cool. So now you just got back from IRE, right? The roofing conference.
Yeah, it's International Roofing Expo. Every year, it's the largest one in the country.
What was it like this year? Anything new or unique there?
Well, we're working on some platforms that we want to expand throughout the country. So I was looking more for that, or any other new products, or that we can bring it to their customers. But IRE is a good networking place too. You talk to a lot of people that are in the same business, and how are they handling. Talk about the markets, the sales, and obviously how everybody's handling their markets, and
Mm-hmm.
things like networking. Where everybody's there, everybody's friendly. Nobody's a jerk there that I met so far. So.
Yeah. What would you say for young people who are just getting out of high school and thinking about their life, their career, what they should be doing? What advice would you give them?
The advice I would give them, whatever they want to do, go and work in that field. Put 6 months, put a year in it. Do it. Doesn't matter what you do. Be an assistant, a helper, whatever. Minimum wage, it doesn't matter. That's going to be that's going to be your decision factor. You're going to see everything that's going on, and if that's really what you want to do, you can jump into college, but 4 years later, or 6 or 8, whatever it is, amount of time you're going to put in, the debt you're going to be in, and then you're going to figure out, well, that's not what I really want to do. Then you're going to start over then. So you're better off putting a few years in different fields that you think you want to do. And then obviously either self-educate yourself or take classes you need, or whatever the degree they might require for the position you're looking for.
Yeah. And when it comes to yourself, how do you learn, or how do you educate yourself, or how do you stay up to date with certain information that you need?
Everything's online right now. Anything you want to educate, and anything you want to be good in, you can go online. You can learn from other people. Pretty much anything from the A to Z. That's where I would start. And the second part, I would go in volunteer time if I had to learn the business, or learn a specific field. That's going to be the most educational that you're gonna get. And you're gonna get it quick. You're gonna get it done really quick. Like me, I'll watch videos. I'll read up. If I have interest, I'll stay up 24 hours. I'm not gonna sleep much, but I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna learn if I want to learn something.
Yeah. Have you come across any young people that are just looking to become rich? They see Instagram or whatever, celebrities or whoever that are already successful, and they look at these people and they're like, okay, I want to be just like that. And then they jump from one thing to the next, because as soon as they jump into one thing, they think it's easy. They realize it's a lot harder than it is. So then they jump out of it and try something different. And they keep jumping from one thing to the next, trying to find something where they can do the least amount of work to get the most amount of money, and not finding that thing. Like, what advice would you give those kind of people?
That goes back. I was similar. I was way back. I was doing the same thing, except I was doing it more of actual businesses that I was starting. But they're doing it with social media, with all this stuff. But this is where it doesn't matter what it is. You got to put the time into it. You put the time into it, you're going to find a way to make it work. They say, easy money comes, it goes as quick as it comes, right? Another thing about all the social media and all this stuff that's there, somebody's in control of that. They turn off your account, you're done. What do you do then?
Yeah.
So you have to always think in the back of your mind, or have, other things diversified, not just rely on one channel or whatever you have, because that's off. Then you're done. What do you do then? You gotta start over, or
Yeah.
so always, I would say, they always diversify as well.
Yeah. What are some other advice you would want to give, especially younger people? Or it could be anybody who either owns a business or.
Advice is, be open-minded. One thing is be open-minded. Second is, if you think you want to do something, go work for somebody. Figure, you're going to learn that way a lot quicker than try to do it yourself. You could do it yourself, it's no problem. It's just going to take you a lot longer, and you have to stick with it. This is what we talked about. People quit. There's always more in the back end that you don't see than what you see in the front end. It's like that iceberg image, I think.
Yeah.
we all seen online. You see the peak, but you don't see what actually went into it.
Right.
So I would say, if you want to do something and start a business or whatever you want to do, and if you're if you go and work with the right company, and be straightforward with them. Hey, I'm going to put in 100%, 120%. I'm going to be with you for a year or two, whatever. If you can train me, this is what I want to do. Anybody that's let's say that you would want to work with anyway, would say, "Hey, I'll be happy to do it. If you're willing to put so much time in, I could use your help." Um, I don't think anyone with logic would turn you away. They
Yeah.
would help you actually.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as a business owner, if somebody came to me and they said, "Well, I want to learn from you, and then eventually I want to start my own thing," like as long as we have a decent agreement on how they're going to contribute and what they get back, I think it definitely will work. I think it's managing those expectations. A lot of people try to do it in the back-handed way, like they're trying to learn, but they put it like a false front in terms of their intentions.
I think a lot to do with that is people might be scared, or it's an awkward, really, conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone can or able to face it. I would say, they have intentions, but some people are want to be snaky and do that, but at the end, I don't think it serves them any good, because if you're setting similar expectations with your employer or partner or whatever, then you guys are on the same page. It's like, listen, I'm going to be here. Like, I had guys that I had a trucking business, right? So I had trucks, and the guys said, listen, I'm going to work for you, but I want to start my own business. I want to start my own trucking business. And I said, fine, I'm okay with that. You can start it. So I had a couple guys. One guy worked for me on a couple years, and he did exactly what he said he was going to do. There are actually two of those guys that I had when I started, and the other guy did the same. We had an understanding, and there's no hard feelings. I was able, if I would, any advice they called me, I give them advice. Where do you do this? Where do you get that? Where do you get that? I didn't have a problem giving them all that.
Yeah.
I was happy to see them.
Right. It's managing ththose expectations. As long as they're put forth in the beginning, it's easier to work with that. But if it's like, if the expectations are not clear, and then one person thinks this person is in with them for long term, but they're not in it for the long term, then it creates conflict and issues.
It's bad for. It's actually bad for both of them, both parties, because I think the more upfront you are, and things you want to put on the paper, because people forget. It doesn't matter who it is. What I learned in business, if it's a partnership, it's an employee, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be the owner, it could be the employee. Somebody's going to forget something. Okay, the clearer you put it on the paper, the agreement you made. And that's what you go back to. Somebody forgets, that's not what I thought, or I forgot, or it doesn't matter how you do that with anybody, even your parents, because people forget, and then that's how misunderstanding somebody gets upset, and then it doesn't go very well.
Yeah. What other advice would you want to share? Anything else, or maybe not even advice? Anything else you want to say or share with the audience?
Well, just figure out what you want to do. The business part, and stick with it. It doesn't matter what it is. If you believe in it and you enjoy doing it, you'll find a way to make money in it. You'll find a way to be successful in it. But obviously, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to look for these things. That's my advice. Don't, it's easy to jump, but that's all you're going to be doing. You're going to be going around a circle.
Yeah.
So that's
cool. Well, Walter, thanks for sharing a little bit about your life and your businesses.
Jerry, I didn't expect to see you today.
Yeah, well, life sometimes brings good surprises.
So I had a ticket, so I bought a ticket back home to Rochester from Austin, Texas, from the show. The show was in San Antonio, and one of my project managers was with me. and then I was looking for those specific kittens that I wanted to get.
Yeah.
And I got a respond, and they were here in Charlotte.
So it worked out.
So when I got on the plane, I booked a flight from my connecting flight back to Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this wasn't planned, but I like that. I enjoy it if things come up, and this is how it is. If you have the time and an opportunity, you gotta be open. Just go and take care of that, because next week or the week after, you might not have time to do what you wanted to do, or
Right.
so.
When you see the opportunity, you need to seize it. Otherwise, it's
You
gonna
take it,
go
and you have
through.
if your window, your time loves you, then you take care of it. Don't leave it till next week or the week after, because then other things will come up.
Right. And it'll be gone.
Yeah.
All right, Walter. Well, thanks, and hope to do this again sometime.
Yeah. Well, nice. It's nice spending time with you as always. As we've been spent time way back.
Yeah.
I know. Hopefully, you come up north soon. You go snowboarding.
Yeah. I haven't skied or snowboarded in a while,
That's
but
okay. A couple falls, so you'll be back where you were.
yeah. All right. Until next time.
All right.
Take care.